For a long time, I thought the mountains of debt I was left with post-abuse were just proof that I was bad with money or made bad choices. I tried to fix it in divorce court, but the judge didn't believe me. I tried to hustle my way out of it with big business contracts, but that fell flat. And I was just exhausted, depleted, and desperate for justice, any kind of it. But then I sat down with a tool that really forced me to look at the numbers, and I realized something terrifying. The price of justice was going to cost me one thing I could not afford to lose anymore, my peace. So I want to go and ground you in sort of the aftermath reality that I was living in. The last year of, I mean, really, abuse is expensive, but the last year and the process of getting out, getting to safety, left me with mountains of debt. Not only that, it by the end of that relationship, the abuse had really jeopardized my income streams, right? So I had these mountains of debt, and then my ability to generate income was also like really compromised. And I just felt shame. I just felt so ashamed. I just felt like, wow, how could I let it get this bad? Where like the debt is this big? How could I let it get this bad where I can't even rely on these specific avenues to make money? Like, I just felt ashamed. I felt as if I just made really bad choices. And part of the the sticky thing about being in that shame and feeling like I made bad choices made me think, well, everything is hard and impossible now, and I deserve how hard this is because it's my fault. And that's really the narrative I was running with. And it really made it hard to, feel hope and not just hope, but it made it hard for me to imagine that I could ever get a life back on my terms because of the financial ruin I was facing, and also that blame, it was hard because I just really believed, because I believed it was my fault and I just made bad choices. I just felt as if I deserved these consequences. But eventually I did try. Here's what I'll say. I made some attempts and they failed. Okay, so in my divorce, my lawyer said, okay, you can put up all of the debts that you accrued during the marriage and try to get it split. And which I tried that. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting anything at all. And I tried that, and I could just tell when it was finally time for my divorce hearing, I could just tell like the judge, she didn't believe me. It just felt she didn't believe me because the debts were in my name. So I kind of got like the credit cards, the personal loans, so many things were in my name. And so legally, I was responsible for it. And she just didn't. I don't know. I tried to explain like why I was asking for to split this at least in half. And she just didn't believe me. I just got the sense that she thought I was a scammer and I was trying to get out easy. And so the reality of the abuse wasn't validated there. And because of that, I was still saddled with all of this debt. Then recovering from that and cocooning and soothing myself through, the complicated victory of my divorce, because I was happy to be free, but I also felt, um, I felt sad because of, that financial outcome. And It was a mixed victory. I eventually was able to settle into you got this freedom, but it was tough because she just really shamed. I don't know. I just felt like a bad person, and I didn't think I was bad, but the I don't know. It was just yucky. So I tried divorce court. What didn't work out for me. Then I went through my hustle phase. And that's where, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to use my consulting business to land really big contracts. And when I land those big contracts, I will be able to pay these debts off in full myself. And I was like, I really don't need that many. I just need one or two, and I can pay these debts and be on my merry way. And I tried that for almost a year. And it just didn't work. The big contracts that were gonna save me from this hellish situation I was in, they never came. And so in the midst of me trying to what do you call it? I was still sort of like in the hustle mode of it. I actually started I joined Free From. They had a program called My Next Steps, and it was financial education for survivors of abuse. And in my mind I thought to myself, well, I thought I knew all the money things, right? Despite my situation, like I went through great lengths as a teen and a young adult to educate myself about money. But I was like, I clearly have shame and this feels uncomfortable. It just felt like the right next step for me to sort of go. So I started my next steps and I was in shock because I came to realize like it really facilitated a shift because I just thought I was bad with money, right? But being in my next steps helped me realize actually this was financial abuse. And not only was this financial abuse, I'm not bad with money. I'm fucking great with money. Like before I met my ex-wife, my credit score was pushing 800. I had paid off my student loans. Um I had been saving towards my retirement all while being a teacher living in New York City. I was great with my money. And I just, being in my next steps helped me realize, oh, it's not only am I not bad with money, but being in the context of like surviving violence and making whatever decisions you have to make to survive, like that, I didn't all of a sudden become bad with money. I just became, I was in a dangerous situation and had to make hard choices in order to make sure I can continue to breathe. And not only that, there was a lot of, coercion throughout the course of the relationship that surrounded money and finances, and honestly also surrounded my work and career. It was in my next steps that I realized, wow, like in my mind, I was thinking that financial abuse looked like this very specific thing, and it happened only towards the end of this part of the relationship. And when I was in my next steps and really started to understand like what financial abuse was, I realized, holy crap, had been going on way longer in the relationship than I realized. And not only that, in terms of me using the resources I have access to for things that like I wouldn't have necessarily chosen had I not been in that context. And not only that was like one aspect of the financial abuse, but the other aspect of it was like in order to sort of mitigate bad nights or harm from me working and traveling for work, I, sort of it became easier and safer to turn away from certain opportunities or to not pursue things to just avoid the threat of violence. So my next steps really helped me. It just, one, it helped me get clear about what in the hell I actually just fucking experience. Then it also helped me reconnect with the actual truths about who I am, that I am actually great with money. And I can trust myself with money, and I'm able to give myself create safety and have amazing experiences of my life when I'm able to use my own money and my own resources in the context of safety on my own terms. And despite the challenges I experienced growing up, I just I was just damn good with money, and I still am. I survived something wild, and it's sort of, I like to think about it like this. It's sort of like being in a vat of toxic waste, having an arugula salad and wondering why you're not getting healthy, right? Like the salad is great, have the salad, but the salad is not going to save you from the vat of toxic waste you're sitting in. You literally need to be up in a new environment, do the decontamination thing and monitor and all this other stuff. And then maybe, eat the salad. It'll still be healthy, but my God, the impact it can have will be so much more different when you're literally just in a different environment. And that's just something, it's it's an understanding I had to get to forgive myself, because I just felt so deeply ashamed. Like I just, I had really internalized this perversion of the bootstrapping thing, in the sense of it was like the reverse bootstrap. Like I put myself in here and I deserve to be in this space and I deserve to experience the consequences and not have any relief. And constantly have like my stability and safety you know challenged and undermined and not on my terms because of the consequence of my choices, of my bad money choices. But really understanding that I experienced financial abuse just created a shift in my spirit. And it just made me open. It made me open enough to look for help. It made me open enough to think, wow, if this wasn't my fault, like maybe I could have options. I cannot underscore, or I just can't underscore when I believed the debt that I was experiencing and my challenges with income was because of my bad choices. I just, because I felt like I deserved it, I, it was almost sort of like a self-flagellation. Like I just, you know, almost agreeing with the forces of the universe and like participating in punishing myself for something wrong that I thought I did. But recognizing that I experienced financial abuse, it was just such a game changer. So, in the context of my next steps, they shared this tool called the Compensation Compass. And the Compensation Compass is like a map of the United States, and it's an interactive tool where you can, because financial abuse, it's not really recognized by the law like that. It's very definitely not federally, and on a state by state basis, that is high key touch and go, depending on what state you're in. So what's great about this tool is you can click on your state and you can find out what counts as financial abuse within the parameters of the law of your state, and what the legal options are. What your legal options are, and the process you might have to take, and then all of that other stuff. So I looked at the compensation compass because I finally gave myself permission to consider maybe this wasn't just me being, an irresponsible adult. And I looked at the legal options for my state, and I was like, I looked at how much the lawyers would cost. I also, honestly, even before the cost of lawyers, I honestly was worried about my time and my energy. I saw my options, and I had some, and they seemed utterly exhausting and very not promising. The options that I had just seemed like I'd have to do a lot of fighting for a maybe, probably not likely result. And I thought about all the time and energy I'd spent trying to get something from someone who, is a master fucking evader anyway, and probably doesn't have anything to get back. And not even just getting something back from her, like just getting I didn't care where the debt go. I just didn't want it to be with me, you know? Um, so that was, I just thought about how long it would take and how desperately I just wanted to move forward, and how I finally, after all of this work on myself, I finally had a vision for myself and my life, and I just wanted to get it. I felt so impatient with the universe. Like it took me so long to finally figure out what I want and my vision for myself and my life. And I finally had the aha moment, but I just felt stuck in the consequences of this abuse. And so I looked at the options for my state, and I felt like all of the options would, that vision and that dream that I have for myself, it would stay on pause and I would still be stuck in this present that was just so frustrating. I was grateful because there are so many things that, as hard as everything was and is, I so many, even the hard things were things I could have never imagined for myself while I was in it. And and so I just wanted to move forward. So that was one aspect of the cost. Then, the safety cost was another huge issue. I mm, Within the span of 18 months, I moved let's see. I want to say five or six times. I want to say six times across 5 states in 18 months for safety. And just aside from the horrors of actually moving, but like on top of like just physically packing up all my shit over and over again and getting rid of more stuff over and over again, the stress that comes with having to change my address and trying to keep it safe. I When looking at the options to pursue financial the legal options I had for my state, I there was a safety cost I had to consider, because it was likely that in that process my ex-wife would find out, one, she would find out the state that I was in, and then I think it would be easier for her to figure out my address if she wanted to. I didn't know if she would, but just like even the thought of reopening the door to her chaos, it just gave me heebie-jeeb. I couldn't. I refused. It took me so fucking long to get to an actually physical safe space. I just feel like a fiercely protective mama bear over my own home address now. And that just wasn't a guarantee to be protected. And so I I realized that this was not an option for me. I could not, I thought about what I would give up, and I just wasn't willing to give that up anymore. And not only that, I looked at, the compensation compass is great because it really laid out my options, and also it really laid out the state of this country and our legal system, and it's fucked. And I just thought to myself, I cannot carry the weight of our broken legal system on my life trying to pursue justice. Like, justice is society's responsibility to fix in this. I couldn't fix the legal system or my own life. Like, it was at what cost? How is that fair to me and what I deserve? And I realized that, caring for myself, that's my true responsibility in life and in this healing journey. I might not be able to access justice, but I can get peace. And I can tend to my heart and my body and my soul and nurture myself and rebuild myself and my life in a way that's actually aligned to what I truly desire. That, not only can I do that, but I get to do that, and it's my responsibility to do that. And I'm so grateful that I can, because there was a time where I didn't know if I would even be breathing. And, there's something about losing all of your money and like literally running out of money and having to entertain new options that weren't on the table because how did I get here? It seems like the running theme. There's just something there was just something about that experience that fundamentally shifted the way that I relate to caring for myself. I'm grateful to do it. It's something I get to do, and it's no one else's job in the world but mine. And as an act of care for myself, this was the path for how I got my power back. Like choosing peace, for me, it wasn't giving up. It was the ultimate power move because I decided to stop leaking and bleeding my energy into a system that wouldn't save me or protect me and potentially while exposing myself to this added risk. And it just, it felt like the loving and kind thing for me I just decided, you know what? I'm going to put this down. I'm not, I had to decide between justice and peace, and I chose peace. And it was the best decision that I made. I felt, um, choosing peace was a part of me just letting it be easy. I was just tired of fighting. I was so fucking tired. And not even, it wasn't even just fighting. I was just tired of struggling against another thing. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. I just wanted peace. And, I realized that I I deserve to have peace. And not only that, I deserve to have peace now. I don't have to wait for the I don't have to take on the weight of the failings of our legal system and society to have peace and be free. That's not fair. I'm not waiting for that shit. I did my work. I'm doing my healing work now. I want that shit. I want my peace now. I want my ease now. Okay. And so, yeah, despite the mountains of debt and, the different options that I had to, you know, through the legal system to, I don't know if it would be called reparations or suing or I don't know what, but I chose peace and I chose me and I chose to walk away from that fight of trying to even engage to get any of my, you know, anything back. I just sort of released it and I let it go. And not only did I let it go, I also forgave myself too because remember I told you like, oh, these are these are terrible. I'm experiencing these terrible things because I made terrible choices because I'm such a bad person. I actually developed a new relationship with my debts. I realized that, you know, this debt is the cost of my life. That's how much it costs for me to stay alive. And when I thought about it like that and related to it in that way, which I was only able to do because I realized, wow, girl, you really did add another layer of abuse. You really did experience financial abuse. When I was able to realize, wow, my debt kept me alive, I actually started to feel like kindness, kind energy, and like gratitude for it because my life is worth so much more than my fucking debt. And not only that, because I've given myself the peace and chosen freedom, I am now on a path to rebuild my personal, professional, and financial life in a way where one day I know the debt that I carried from this abuse is I will be able to make that money like that. It's gonna be nothing to me. And that day might be away, or who knows, universe, they surprising me. It might be closer than I think. But I just my life is worth so much more than that. And because I've chosen me and because I've chosen peace, and I'm reinvesting all of my time and energy in myself, my capacity to generate income is only going to grow to a point where one day, like, I'm gonna look at the number that of debt that I had, and it's gonna be the cost of something, I don't know, so small and inconsequential in my life, which is I'm calling in some wealth, y'all. So yeah, it's just, my debt is why I'm breathing. And if I can relate to it like that, yeah, I can forgive the me that, you know, made choices in those contexts, because you know what? It worked. It worked, bitch. You're alive. So yeah, that's 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 why I chose my piece. Okay. That moment of choosing peace over being right was the first step in truly honoring myself. And that is exactly what we are going to practice together all next month. Starting this Friday, I am launching the Holiday Self-Honoring Challenge. It is a 4-part series to help us navigate this holiday season intact. And in a full circle moment, I'm partnering with Gifted by Free From, the shop from the same organization that helped me find that clarity, to give away care packages to those who join me. If you have ever had to choose between justice and peace, you belong here. Subscribe and turn on notifications for Friday. I've linked the resources I used in the description, including that compensation compass. And let me know in the comments, have you ever had to walk away from a battle just to save your own peace?